Hello everyone, in this lesson we will be discussing the methods section of your capstone project. For course outcome number 3 in this section, we are looking at explaining best fit methods for exploring a focus topic. We'll also be looking at course outcome number 4, in which you will demonstrate that you utilize best practices for written and oral professional communication across audiences. The objectives of this section are to outline the protocols of the study, so really looking at alignment with the research question, feasibility, and the potential for replication. This is where you will really discuss how you will conduct your project, including your process for data collection and analysis, and justifying how this aligns with your research question. By demonstrating these 3 key parts in your draft, you will then refine your method section for your final project, in which you rationalize how the data collection method addresses the research question. The methods section is an integral part of your project because it provides transparency around the work that you complete and thus increases the trustworthiness of your findings. And additionally, the methods provide a roadmap for others who may wish to expand upon or replicate your work, thereby building support for your findings. This section is the link between your introduction section, which has your research question, your hypothesis, and also your results section. And you're completing this section first because you want to be mindful of how you will conduct your work and begin moving forward on your project. In your methods section, you will offer the rationale for why you have chosen your method, indicating how your methods align with your research question. An important aspect to consider is the feasibility of the method. For example, it would likely not be possible to travel abroad to observe a species in its natural habitat away from your own living situation. Certainly not impossible, of course. On a smaller scale, there are also pieces to consider, such as what might be a reasonable amount of survey responses to expect with the quick turnaround of the course. You definitely want to be able to carry out your research as planned. For the data collection, this section includes how you recruited participants, if relevant for your project. This might also include approval from an organization if one was involved. If you're conducting a literature review, you might include a PRISMA statement, the preferred reporting items for systematic reviews, and meta-analysis statements. This might also include participant demographics, inclusion or exclusion criteria. Again, if you're conducting a literature review, this type of data that you're collecting, or any tools or materials that you're using. So regardless of your particular project format, all of these components might be included as relevant in your specific protocol. It is important to have a clear description of the steps taken, so that this will include any of your frequencies or how often you are conducting the observations, also how long the duration of the treatment, the different treatment options. So really looking at how many participants are included, how many groups, how often were they assessed, and for how long. Any of these pieces are relevant here. How many articles did you include in your literature review? How did you conduct your search? Which search terminology did you use? Again, any of these details you really want to make sure that you're including. We're aiming for creating a replicable list of steps that another researcher could follow, and also clear transparency on what you did, so if there are any questions about your findings, someone can go back to your methods and see if you addressed what their question was. So this is like a recipe where the details matter for getting to the same outcomes. Similarly, for your data analysis, you would want to include any information on specific tests that you conducted, so inferential statistics that were used, what software you used for the tabulation of your statistics. So perhaps you used R as a software to conduct your statistical analysis. Any of those pieces you really want to include here as well. And so again, this is your tests, and this is the software used for your data analysis. The format that you'll be using for this section includes writing in the past tense and communicating what was done for your project in a very organized manner, in the order of how things were done. This should be specific and detailed, as we have mentioned before, and you might also include flowcharts or tables to help your audience really understand the steps that you took and how you got there, and follow along with the work that was done. An example, again, might be this structured literature review. So this is how part of the methods there could look, where you have a flowchart of review of potential articles to include. And this is a section taken from a literature review that follows the PRISMA guidelines for outlining how the included articles were identified. So at what stage were certain ones excluded and why, and what the process was to really rationalize why the review ended up with the number of articles and the specific articles that it did. This is a helpful resource learning about different sections of your project, and please reach out to your instructor with any questions that you have.